They redesigned the orc. They redesigned the orc. The first one was balked. Take a lork. They redesigned the orc. Ha ha! Friends and lovers, welcome to the Gimpressions for Shadow of War. Middle-earth Shadow of War, or as I like to call it, Shadow of Mordor. To play on the original game Shadow of Mordor is quite funny. Other people prefer Shadow of Mordor, which I will admit, that does work a bit better. It's got the right amount of syllables, and you can sort of pass it off as sounding like Mordor, but, you know, I came up with more dollars, not more dough, so that's the one I'm sticking with. They're all jokes regarding the microtransactions that are found in this game, which I will, of course, be taking a look at in this first look. This, may not be the only Shadow of War video we do. As I get into the late game, I'll do some more videos for you. Right now, this is just the early stuff. I downloaded it yesterday. Obviously, Warner Brothers didn't give me an advance copy. Why would they? But, sorry, I surprised myself with my own obnoxious laughter there. What was I saying? Right, yeah. What I like about what I'm doing, though, with sort of scrapping the idea of a traditional review, is I can do these early impressions right around launch. So, you know, Warner Brothers and other publishers scuppering me on that doesn't really stop me getting opinions out there right quick, you know? But I can always give you updated, advanced opinions when I get further in. Like, I've not played around too much with Domination yet, not that really far into the game, but I can show you the early going, some of the Nemesis system stuff, some of the orcs. As you see, we're here hunting a Microsoft Zune, and we're very excited about that. Lots of cool orc designs. To start with the positives, because let's not, like, you know, give you a false representation of the game. Shadow of War as a base game is good, and I did buy the base game. I didn't buy the expansion pass. I didn't get the silver and the gold edition. And you do really feel like you're buying a shell game. I think, if anything, Shadow of War does back up that idea. There we are, killed Zune. You know, if Microsoft wasn't going to do it, I was going to do it. It's still making Zune jokes. But anyway, and we will get to the positives, but I guess I really want to talk about how that backs up what I said on the Gimquisition about how games start at $60 now as a shell price, not the real full experience price. You know, that myth that games never rose their base price above 60. For $59.99, you know, I get a decent core mechanic. I am missing 2 of the game's tribes, and the way that orcs operate, it certainly emphasised that these tribes bring interesting things to the table. Of the tribes that are in here, you get ones that have, like, clawed hooks that they use. Well, this one right here has a clawed hook that he uses. It's specific to his tribe. They've done a good job of making the orcs feel even more varied and different and unique. Here's Raw's a rat hunter here. I was going to call him a hat hunter. He's not wearing a hat at all, but then again, that might be why he's hunting for one. And as you can see, the orcs just fly in thick and fast, the named ones, the captains and whatnot, often coming into ambush you sometimes, you know, levels above you, but you do have that option to retreat or try and stick it out. As you can see here, this particular orc was proving trouble, so I decided to beat a tactical retreat. However, I wasn't done with the fight. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't fully running away. Our little rat hunter was giving chase, and we used that to our advantage. And that's one of the things I like about the gameplay here. A lot of the gameplay is still quite similar to the original Shadow of Mordor, as you might expect. But it's just one of those games that have just done it but more. So it's Shadow of Mordor, but more door. I took a big tumble on my ass there. It was worth a go, but we were trying to just sort of maneuver him into a position. This was nice. Check that out, fucko. Lots more opportunities to do that, and I do like that they allow you to poison those barrels, because they're full of orc grog that they like to drink. You don't have to do a mission to unlock the poison ability now, which is good, because I like poisoning those things. Here I am dying, just to show you off a little bit of the Nemesis system. So Oogle killed us, and you might be able to hear over me talking. If you want to listen to in-game dialogue, watch a voiceless Let's Play. But he's showing off because he killed the Tark. That's me, racist. Killed the Tark, names himself Tark Slayer, and then gets promoted, becomes a captain, and you can undertake vendetta missions, which is a new thing. We'll be showing off how that vendetta mission goes. I left a loading screen in there. I could have cut that out, but who cares? It looks a bit like a Boglin, like a Jimquisition branded Boglin with the red on him. There's an idea for Tim Clark, the inventor of Boglins. Let's collaborate and make a Jimquisition Boglin limited edition. That's besides the point. We're not here to talk about Boglins. We're here to talk about Ogol the Tark Slayer, who I feel like dealing with. So, before we do that, I respawned at one of these towers, and there's this fucking hot and cold thing you have to do to find all of the typical open world busy work. Don't worry, there's plenty of open world busy work for you. And there's the additional busy work of finding it, like this. It's quite boring. It's somewhat similar to what they did with the towers in Breath of the Wild, but even more dull than that. So I'm on the tail here of Oogle the Tark Slayer. Took one of those, what they call worms, the orcs with the green symbols that you can ply for information, find out his weaknesses and all that bother before I go and track him down. And we fast forward to me finding the bastard. It did take a long bit of walking and me doing other things to get to him, which I've cut out. But here's Oogle the Tark Slayer telling us that he slays Tarks. Very much again like the first game, the dialogue for the orcs, somewhat witty, amusing stuff. The combat system, I feel, flows a bit better. It's still more or less the same thing, but it's got a nicer, more responsive feel to it. Maybe I'm imagining it, or maybe it's just the way combat looks and feels in this one, but it's just that little bit better, I think. Here we are getting ambushed by Hors of the Dam. Hors of the Dam pain in my fucking ass. There's the second time he's done that. Has gone and ambushed me while I was trying to deal with another orc. Especially annoying since this is a vendetta mission, which you get more loot for. Loot is given to the player quite generously, I will say that. But very much like with Dead Space 3, you can tell the loot's there to justify the loot box system. They've changed the way the game's loot economy and all of that stuff works to support that. Now, here we are with the orc at death's doorstep, but got one of those traits, death-defying, there you go, defy death. So that was a pain in the arse. But again, that's one of the interesting things of this whole series, and partly why I bag on it so much on the Jimquisition. If I didn't think this was a good game, if I didn't think this was a well-written game with regards to the characterizations of the Uruks, with regards to adding this sort of darker, bloodier flavour to Tolkien's work, I wouldn't care as much about the loot boxes. It's like that Star Wars Battlefront 2. I give a shit about the microtransaction horseshit in that, because the Star Wars Battlefront games are good. Even the newer one, even that one that came out the other year, was a good game. It's just not all the game it could be. Now this, I do have to say, I loved. So I poisoned that grog. I mentioned poisoning earlier. I've gone and dropped poison in the orc grog, hoping to poison some Uruks. I'm hiding in the bush. I come out, and then from behind, 2 gogs of venomous.
That's not how you do it, amateur. That's 4 times the dose you need. Ever heard of supersaturation?
Basically criticizing my ability to poison other orcs, which I thought was a really, really nice touch. The idea that certain orcs are triggered to spawn based on your activities in the game, and that they're driven, this particular orc being driven by an offence, taking offence to the way I choose to poison people, because obviously the way he chooses to poison people is superior. I thought that was clever and cute. And again, it's things like that that make me just think, God damn, did you need the loot boxes? Because here's the other thing I was thinking about. While I was sort of lamenting the fact that I bought the shell game, is, and I do lament it, because I'm the kind of person who, I don't begrudge publishers offering tiered levels of games at the point of sale. This sort of $60 starting price, $90 with the expansion pass, whatever, and then your sort of $100, I wouldn't go up to $150 for NBA, but you know, $100 for the gold edition that's got those extra tribes and stuff. I might actually have paid for that if the loot boxes weren't there as well. It's the constant doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on the money-making schemes. I'm not an unreasonable person, and I loved Shadow of Mordor enough to where I would support this game with that. I would put my money where my mouth is and buy the gold edition of this, if not for the extra stuff as well. The fact that Warner Brothers Interactive couldn't just stop there, had to continue. This is one of those annoying orcs that dodge my attacks half the time. I'm sure there's some way of countering that more efficiently. I mean, I countered it there by just shooting the fucker in the head, but, you know, there are other ways of doing that, I'm sure. So, with this sort of wrapping up here, we got ourselves a nice rare bit of loot there. Loot does, as I say, drop fairly often, but it does sort of lead you subtly and insidiously toward the marketplace. And that's something reviews have sort of glossed over by going in the extreme other direction. They say the loot box system is good because it's not shoved in your face. Redesigned orc there. I don't know if you noticed, but some people had pointed out that the original design of the merchant orc had some unfortunate implications, some potentially anti-Semitic implications. He looked a lot like a popular caricature. They've changed that. He looks quite different now. He's kept some of the things, but they called him the headhunter or whatever. But anyway, it's not that the microtransactions and loot boxes are in your face that's the problem, and I think a lot of reviewers kind of don't appreciate that. It's insidious. That's how they work. For instance, you can take these online vendetta missions that give you loot chests as rewards. Now, I did one of these vendetta missions, got a loot chest as a reward. Where do you go to open those? You have to go to the marketplace, which works, as you've seen here, with all this constant synchronizing with the server and loading, load of annoying bullshit. But that's how it works. It guides you there, it breadcrumbs you there. Every time you pause the game, you get a commercial for the expansion pass, and the marketplace entry in the menu is flashing, just flashing up and down like that, drawing your eye to it. So no, they're not shoving it in your face, they're not forcing it down your throat, but they're just leading little trails there, just getting you there. And that's the issue, and that really speaks to the insidious genius of loot boxes overall, is that critics aren't paying attention to that. They are saying, oh, well, it's not being shoved down my throat, therefore it's good. Meanwhile, people like me, who I've said, suffer from some compulsive attributes, some addictive personalities, who do genuinely love RNG-guided stuff in games. I love random loot. I love the concept of loot boxes if they're in a game and they're not charging me money for it. That's fine. But again, it's the excess. It's the greed, quite simply. So that's my initial impressions of Shadow of War. As a core game, really enjoying it. But the shadow of more dollars is cast overhead over the game. It's in the back of my mind at all times. And that's a shame, because I'm seeing yet another brilliant game, just AAA-sized, I'll think of a better term for that, into something that is just a bit more cynical and soulless than I think the developers truly wish it to be. And that's a shame. And we'll leave it at that. I'll have updated thoughts as we go on. Hopefully get another Shadow of War video out, you know, maybe more, who knows. But that's that. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time with some more Jimpressions. Thank God for me, and I'll speak to you later. Bye!